Hey world, this is it, the most driven podcast on the radio. Welcome to The Driven, a podcast brought to you by the kick-ass nutrition science team at MDrive. MDrive is all you need and all you need to know in the world of more energy, more focus, more stamina, and more drive. I'm your host, Rick Baroff, longtime ultra-endurance athlete and MDrive ambassador. We're going to talk it up with a wealth of amazing, passionate, dedicated, and driven guys in all walks of life. So get ready to be motivated and inspired. It's The Driven Podcast.
In this episode of The Driven, we're diving down under with Mark Power, an always positive, highly motivated, and amazingly laid-back Aussie entrepreneur who's literally writing the book on how to have maximum fun while on extreme adventures. He's founded and operated several companies around the world over the past few decades while also being a globe-trotting adventure junkie and hyperactive dad, like one podcast host I know.
If you want to be great, whether it's greatness in sort of material wealth or greatness in reputation, whatever it may be, you've got to make some sacrifice. I don't know anyone successful out there in whatever way you define success. I don't know many who haven't taken some serious sacrifices.
While we met at a 6-day-long 150-mile ultra running race in Chile, Mark has also conquered 200-mile mountain bike races across Iceland. He's ran across the world's largest frozen lake, tackled the famed Spartan Beast race, and invented the Mad Hatton, a 30-plus mile charity run around New York City. He's also an avid sports fisherman with a bucket list, no pun intended, of exotic fish he's been reeling in around the world. Mark's latest venture is Podine, a fast-growing Amazon marketplace agency and consultancy where he and his co-founding partner recently hired their 100th international employee. So, if you like to mix business with pleasure, Mark is your guy. Think of this episode as a masterclass in entrepreneurship from the back of a surfboard. We'll talk BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, getting uncomfortable to find your boundaries and strengths, how to stay positive as much as possible, and how adaptability might just be the key to success. Ready? Let's go. It's time to get motivated with the Piss Fit Champ, a term you'll want to adopt, Mark Power.
3, 2, 1. Hey guys, it's The Driven Podcast with Rick Baroff. We're talking all things motivation, inspiration, and of course, drive. Today, I've got my friend Mark Power. First of all, Mark, where are you talking to us from today? Where are you?
G'day, Rick. How are you? I'm talking from my garage in my house in Newport Beach, which is my global headquarters for everything that I do and my different affairs and businesses and adventures. Originally from Australia. But lived in the UK for 13 years, the earlier years of my professional life, wherein I then moved to New York for 10 years, and then the calling to Cali was just there. It was a big motivational driver for me to get my family into a great environment with lots of outdoor activities and ocean activities. So moved to California just after COVID kicked off, which wasn't exactly a pleasant place for any family in New York City, in Manhattan, and haven't looked back, but really happy to be here to talk with you today. And you just brought back some great memories of us trudging through the Atacama Desert in some of the most beautiful scenery and also viciously tough scenery for ultra running. That brings back some great memories of you and I doing that together.
Yeah, right on. So let's go back towards the beginning. What did you dream of when you were little?
Well, I think my mum still has photos of me being the policeman for the first half of lunchtime, when I then had to hand it over to my other buddy who wanted to be the policeman. And I think I got used to early on, I wouldn't say bossing people around, but, directing people and ensuring that everyone is moving in the right direction and there is law and order. That then led me to work at my dad's law firm in the holidays growing up. I was the youngest of 5 kids. My dad took me under his wing because I was the little one. But before you know it, I was working in an interesting environment for a kid to work in the holidays, a big law firm in my hometown of Brisbane. But it's where I got to see how adults worked and how things got done in the world of business and law. But I think after many years of doing that over many vacations and things like that, I did like making money. Not that was my driver, but I did like the fact that I had a bit of cash to be able to do what I wanted, whether it was to buy some sneakers or go and buy some comics or fishing gear back in the day. But after several years of doing that, I said, Dad, I know what I want to be. I'm going to be a lawyer. And he said, over my dead body, you're going to be a lawyer. So I went to university in Brisbane, and I did marketing communications because I think I saw other people that my brothers and sisters, my sister's friends were doing, and they were doing it. I thought, oh, that's nice. That's a nice general business thing to do, because I think from an early age I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be someone who sort of wasn't about answering to nobody, but just doing my own thing was always an alluring thing. And then during university, I had a car cleaning business that I sprung up. I had a lawn mowing business sprung up. Like, I was always hustling and not hustling in this modern way of hustling where, no, I was just there to make some money and just make sure I've always got cash to be able to do the fun things I wanted to do. And whether that was fishing or whether that was adventuring or camping, whatever it was, I just loved the fact that money was there to be able to use it for more enjoyment and for more experiences. So from a very early age, I've been an experience-focused person, a people-focused person, not a material items person. But then I just decided that I wanted to explore the world a bit. So I left when I was 21, and the world started to become a very interesting place for me since then.
Okay, awesome. So you ended up in the U.S. Was there a reason, or you just thought that was the best place to be an entrepreneur?
Well, I'd never dreamed of living in the US, but after 13 years in London, building my first company, having a lot of entrepreneurial activity there, operating globally, traveling out of the UK, which is a great base to travel from because you can get anywhere really from London. I got a little bit over the travel after about 10 years of it. I was traveling to the States once a month to do business, and it was very draining on me trying to juggle that, plus my social commitments and my work commitments and other things. It actually is it sounds sexy, or the global travel, but it's grueling. And anyone who does that on a regular basis would agree. It's tough on the body, it's tough on the soul. So I decided, just got married, and I told my wife over a few margaritas one day on honeymoon, I said, how about we try moving to New York just for 6 months, just to see what it's like. And I always, just for 6 months. And I enjoyed visiting New York, but it was a very tiring experience because you're out of hotels and there was always entertainment, and it's a very high energy place. And I work well with New York, but it also I was happy to get out of there. But we went to New York and absolutely loved living there. You could get into a better rhythm in that city. You found yourself being able to have a home, not a hotel room, and you found yourself sort of working out how New York should work for you. So we enjoyed New York, but bringing up a young family there was fine. But then as kids get a bit older, we decided at some point we need to leave New York, and that's where California, for the lifestyle that it gives me and what I like doing and what my family enjoy, I think it was the right move for us. But we love the US. We love the opportunity that brings. Yeah, the US has some problems here and there, but every country does. But I do think the US is a wonderful place, and there's a lot that we love about it.
Were you always sort of sporting? Were you into sports, back in the days? We'll obviously get into our adventures and what you're doing these days, but you always had a passion for sports and adventuring as well?
I'd say I was a very active kid, meaning, growing up in Australia, it was all about team sports. Yes, there were individual sports at school, such as tennis, swimming to a degree, was mainly an individual sport. I played those sports, but not in any official competitive way. I went to a school that was a Catholic boys' school that was very, very much a rugby heritage or a cricket heritage. And in Australia, the school networks that I went to, and other states have similar school networks, they are very focused on team sports. And so I played a game called rugby, which quite a few people have played with, some aren't. It's a very big international sport, but not
Aussie football, yeah. Well, it's the version of people know what rugby is, but yeah, it's American football without the pads. You got to be tough.
With pads. Exactly. But I enjoyed playing that team sport. I played in different positions as I grew as an individual. I became a bit bigger earlier than some other kids, so they threw me into the forwards, and I just loved that physicality. So I played rugby for almost 22, 23 years, and not at any major level, but just enjoyed the competitiveness of it, the aggressiveness of it, and the team and camaraderie and the mateship that you bond with your teammates over the years is amazing. And then some injuries put me to an end, and that's where another journey began.
So take us through a bit of that journey of how you started your very successful company now, Podine.
Yeah, well, my first company I started, my first real company, not my first lawn mowing or car cleaning business, although I keep saying that if all else fails, I can always go and clean a car down fast and mow a lawn down fast. But that's rest assuring. I did enjoy launching my first company when I was about 23, 24 in a foreign city. And I just went for it and took some risks, got some great people around me. I think, a lot of entrepreneurs don't give enough credit, to be honest, to the teams that help you build your businesses. So you have to surround yourself with motivated people who want to have a go and be on that journey with you. So I had a great number of people who helped me build that company. But after 10 to just over 10 years, I started to get a bit dry with it, a bit sort of stale with it. I'm an early stage. I realized that I'm an early stage builder. I'm not someone who can go and deal with politics and deal with the things that happen when a company gets to a certain stage or keeps growing. And so what I found that I had to sort of give it to some other people to sort of take to the next stage, and that was a good decision. But then I found, hey, what am I going to do? And some friends of mine said, hey, look, we know you're an entrepreneur, but maybe take the weight off your shoulders for a while and maybe go and work at a big corporation just to check it out, see how it works and just see how you meld in there. And that's when I did go and do that for a couple of years. And I met my now business partner. And very quickly, only a few months after me starting to work for someone for the first time in a long time, I said to him, hey, we have a great partnership going. I trust you implicitly, and trust is hugely important in any partnership. I said, look, one day, I'm not going to say when, we need to go and do our own thing. We need to try this out because I believe we can do great things together. And 4 years after that, we launched our current company called Podian, which is an Amazon services company helping brands accelerate their business on Amazon globally. And we are, we're growing rapidly. We've got lots of incredible things happening. But I don't know if I could have done that myself at this stage of my career at the pace we've done it, just because having a partner, particularly in the later stage of life when there's lots going on, you've got family commitments, social commitments, you've got lots happening. It's so rest assuring knowing that you've got someone covering your back and you can rely on to help you keep the momentum of your business as it grows.
I think that's a cool thing. That's a good lesson potentially, for folks that you took sort of it's called a lateral step to learn, get more experience in business by working for others. You didn't necessarily see it as, a step backwards. You just used it as an opportunity.
Yeah, Rick, I advise a lot of people on career-based things. Not saying that my career is a blueprint at all, but what I say is that if you want to be great, if you want to, whether it's greatness in sort of material wealth or greatness in reputation, whatever it may be, whatever your goals are, you've got to make some sacrifice. I don't know anyone successful out there in whatever way you define success for them. I don't know many who haven't taken some serious sacrifices. And it can be quite alluring for young professionals to just hop to job after job after job with huge alluring salaries and benefits and things, right? And then at some point just go, well, hang on, I've just been doing that for 15 years. Have I missed some of the best years where I could have been taking some more risk? Because now I've got kids, now I've got big commitments, and I've got security to offer people that I have to be providing for. And it becomes difficult because then all of a sudden you don't know what your risk profile is, and there's lots of challenges there. So for me, making sacrifices and taking some side steps or steps back to take several forward is bits of advice that I give people all the time. Some people go, oh, why haven't I made it? Why haven't I gone and become what I believed I should have become? I'm like, well, what sacrifices have you made? And what side steps did you take to sort of get there? And what were you doing? Nothing just falls on your lap. You've got to take some risk and you've got to make some sacrifice, in my view.
Absolutely. And one thing that I was thinking about when I'm thinking about you is that, beyond your always amazing sunny disposition, even in the times when your business is going crazy, you have, I think you said earlier, you have this confidence, and I don't know if that's a learned thing or if it's just a natural thing or, so you talk about the confidence you had and how other folks might be able to bolster their own confidence to take such steps if they have an idea, let's say, if they're driven towards something.
Yeah, so I look at, I think naturally I'm a positive person. I think whether that was instilled in me or whether it was part of me, I've been a generally naturally positive person. Yeah, I have my moments, I have my down moments, I can go into little lulls and dark places. I just try and get out of those places so damn fast. But I think everyone's going to have their own way of who they are. But if you surround yourself with positivity, right? If you think positively, no matter how difficult it may be, and try and shut out negativity, you have a better chance of being a more positive and confident person, because you can't be confident if you're negative. So I'm always telling people that there's no use to negativity. Even though I get negative, I try and minimize by minutes how negative I can be until I'm back. And all it takes is reminding yourself and of your affirmations, or reminding yourself of the good things in your life, or thinking about some others who may not be in as fortunate position as you. But all of that needs to get you into the best place possible, which is in a positive mindset, because that's when things get done. That's when things get moving in the right direction. That's when you build momentum. And momentum is super, super important in life. Having stopped momentum before, having to start from scratch before, having to sort of have huge momentum, then overnight it can stop. It's hugely difficult to then go, oh my gosh, I have no momentum. Just like anything in sport, like anything in social relationships, momentum is something that everyone needs to think about. How do I keep as much momentum without overcooking it? Because you don't want to be going too far as well. It's all going to be balanced. But I do believe that confidence can only really take shape in who you are and how you portray yourself to the world if you are in a positive frame of mind. And that for me is a hugely important thing.
So true. You have to be, confident, positive in yourself. The next step I was going to ask from there is about your goals. How setting goals? Obviously there's mental goals, physical goals, business goals. Are you a goal setter where you draw a whole roadmap? You more seat of the pants? What's a little bit about your process for goal setting and reaching them?
I'm a goal setter, but it's more of a long-term goal setter versus the one who's like, what am I going to achieve today? I work in, I have one master goal for my current company, and that's to be the authority in our particular industry and sector. But as an internal goal, I've told my team, my job is to make our company a greater company tomorrow than it is today. Okay. Do I have 1,000 things to do each day to sort of get there? Yes. But I look at big, they used to call them BHADs, big, hairy, audacious goals. Now, mine are big, hairy, and audacious for me. Doesn't mean I'm going to go and put space rovers on Saturn. Not that they'll probably stick on the gas, but my point is I believe in having big goals and other goals if you can to get you to that goal. I do that in both my physical pursuits and my adventure pursuits, but when it comes to sort of personally, an example of a goal that I set a few years ago, I actually branded it for myself. It's called Freedom 50. I'm turning 45 in a couple of days, and I set when I was 40, I said, what do I really want to get from life? But I want to, when I'm 50, know that I've got freedom of location of where I may live. I want freedom of, and I want security for my family. And I listed a couple of things, what Freedom 50 meant. Okay. And that's a big goal. It's an umbrella goal. So I believe for me it works better as an umbrella scenario, whereas other people need to have micro goals that get them so everyone has their own way, but I do list my goals. I use mind maps. I get excited about visualization of my goals, and I mind map plans for travel and experiences and things I want to achieve over the next year, 2, 3. That works for me. Am I viciously crossing things off on a daily basis? No, I've got task lists, but hey, I've never crossed off a full task list in my life. Never really. And sometimes one thing I do recommend is people adjust your goals. Don't be stubborn. If you think a goal needs to be adjusted just because of realities and what's happening, don't beat yourself up, because beating yourself up puts you in a negative mindset. You're better off going, hey, let's either move that goal or just be realistic about it. I'm not saying don't have big, hairy, audacious goals, but just also be realistic. Otherwise, it can put you in a bad place.
Sure, write them in pencil, not in pen, I guess. Yeah. Speaking of that, I think you just hired your 100th employee in the space of just a few short years. Is that correct? At Podium?
No, it's great to hear, but it's also, oh golly, I've got real responsibility that I need to make sure that those people are insecure. They joined us for a reason. I feel ultimately responsible for their career right now. It's a good thing, but a marker of success isn't the number of employees. It's how happy those employees are, and ultimately, what you're all building together, and is everyone happy with that?
Or what you're learning like? You have to do a lot of constantly on the fly learning. Do you have any tips or tricks or processes for that?
I'm a good consumer of information. I used to be probably better at it when I didn't have children and as many commitments as I now have, but I like to surround myself and be curious with smart people and people who think a little bit outside the box, to be honest. And in our industry, which is the marketing and digital world that we're now it is crazy. It's changing so rapidly. You can't be closed-minded. So as a business owner in this space, our whole DNA is about challenging each other, challenging your clients, challenging the industry. And if you don't challenge, as in just ask the right questions and hopefully have people be open to those questions and also exploring what the answers could be, that for me is really exciting. So for me, it's around who I'm around and who I'm challenging and who's challenging me. Also, following various publications that are sort of at the cutting edge of what's happening in your industry is helpful, but don't always take it for granted that what they say is true.
Okay, well, you have enough authority and amazing knowledge that you wrote a book called Amazon for CMOs. I was reading some of the reviews online, and actually one of them, I don't know if you can get any better than this. One review said one of the best retail books of all time. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty awesome. We don't need to go too deep into that. If folks want to check out Amazon for CMOs, but I'm more interested. Let's get into the fun stuff now. I'm interested in. I think you told me you're writing a new book.
Yes.
About something less dry, let's say.
Well, about 13, 14 years ago, maybe 15 now, I had a moment that sort of changed my life when, as I mentioned, I went from being a team sports person to then a couple of years of going, what am I doing? What's my outlet outside of work and play, right? What's my drive? What's my physical drive? What's my competitive drive outside of that world? So I started some endurance type sports, whether it's cycling, whether it's long distance adventure races and things. And I found myself really loving the adventure of it, loving the planning and organization of it. And also my body was responding very, very well to something I'd never even tried before, which was long distance activities and endurance activities. So running, riding, paddling, and all these things. And so, but what we found is these events that we were doing and adventures that we were going, you could mix it up with having fun. I'd always thought that long distance was Ironman and triathlon, and the folks who do those sorts of things, some of the ones I knew weren't into having fun along the way. They were very, very driven and very competitive, and that's great. That's what they want to do. But I found myself loving the fact that on a 7-day ride across France where you're doing 220 kilometers a day, we were drinking beers at the end of the day, we were having multiple bottles of wine at the end of the day, and then rinse and repeat the next day. Your body just flushes it all out and off you go. We're doing 12 hours riding a day. That was my first big adventure that then led me to go, hey, there's a way to do this from now, and I'm going to call it PissFit. So I called this PissFit. I used to go on PissFit tours, and PissFit in Australia is someone who can drink a lot of drinks, but for me, PissFit is really a way of life to describe the hard-charging life that we lead, doing the organization, the training, the lead-up, and the actual events, but also celebrating finishing something and achieving something and celebrating in a way that whatever you want to do, you can go and have some fun with it, whether it's drinking, whether it's going and having a holiday on the back of it, but just enjoying the fact that you are jubilant and mixing that in with what I believe is also a healthy lifestyle of keeping fit and staying as young as possible as we get old. I do want this to be something that people can have a laugh with, but also take a few little lessons from and say, right, maybe I'm going to try something new tomorrow. Maybe I'm going to be happy that I'm where I'm at in this sport and not get too frustrated. Like I get frustrated with golf and I get frustrated with surfing, but hey, Mark, just be happy that you're actually just below average with those sports. I just want I want PissFit the book to actually just be hopefully any small inspiration that anyone takes from it, that's going to be a win for me.
Yeah, no, right on. I love it, and of course that's what we met, we didn't really have the ability to have drinks in the middle of the desert because we were extremely far from any civilization.
We did at the end of the race.
At the end for sure. That was great.
But right now, back to your question, I'm writing a book which summarizes all the mantras and the affirmations that we have created over those 15 years with me and a number of folks who've done these adventures with me, you being one. We don't want this to be a preachy book as to this is how you live your life, but we do believe there's some great lessons and great things that hopefully will be inspiring for folks who are looking for sort of like another entry point out of wherever they are or wanting to do stuff that's going to change their life fundamentally, because it's definitely changed ours. that's definitely
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So more like a anthology of inspiration and motivation and some
a hell of a
fun
lot
stuff.
of funny stories, I tell you.
Can't wait to see what that is. You enjoy training? Do you set goals in your training as well? Do you go more on a feeling, or do you like if you have something coming up, do you do any more specific type of training for a certain event?
Yes. Well, no, good question. I was someone who just trained for my sport back in the day, whether it was rugby or whatever. But since I got into this world of Piss Fit, which is the world I call it, but I'm a general all-round trainer. I've been doing so many different types of different training over the years. I love what's interesting. I like diversity. I like to be what you would say as a cross trainer. Do I run 5 days a week? No. Do I love running? Yes, I do. But I also like the fact that I call myself just above average at everything, meaning I'm happy and content not to be the best. And I'm very, very content to be able to say, right, I'm okay at running, so let's enjoy running today. Or I'm going to go for a paddle tomorrow. So for me, enjoying a more cross-training-esque type regime is good for my maintenance mode. But when it comes to, hey, when we were training for the ultra marathons, it was very intense training specific to an ultra marathon. Would I do 100 miles a week? No, but I would mix it up with some extra activities that would help me with my heart rate or help me with my just to ensure I didn't get injured. So I'm someone who has a lot of old injuries that just keep plaguing me. I work around it. I train around it, but I do believe that everyone has to have a training regime that works for them, that's going to give them longevity in their life if possible. Do I do enough holistic stuff to keep me in good shape? Definitely not. It comes down the bottom of the list. Do I wish I could do more? 100%. But I think that everyone needs to train to what works for them. But do I love training? Absolutely. I feel a huge amount of pleasure on the back of a training session. I feel my body in better shape. I feel my head in better positive frame of mind. Not every training session works during it, but on the back of it, I'm always pleased to have done it, and that sense of relief. I believe in debits and credits as well. If you have things going into your body, you're going to have to sort of work it out. So that debits and credits, if I don't train for a couple of days, I start to get very anxious personally. Training for me is super, super essential in the way I live my life.
You're great too, because your two boys are now old enough to participate too. So talk about you work them into stuff a lot.
I mean, I go for I usually ride with my eldest son who's 8, or he just turned 9, but I'll run while he rides. My youngest came and did his first little fun run. He was 4. He did a fun run earlier this year, and my eldest did a 5K. He did his first 5K at 4.5, 5. Now, some people go, that's terrible that parents do that. No, he wanted to do it. We enjoyed it. He loved it. The sense of jubilation on his face at the end was just awesome. Just to be like, wow, did I really do that, Dad? And I was super proud of him. Now, do I force him to train every week? No, I don't. We don't. He doesn't even train. But the idea of putting himself in a little bit of an uncomfortable position, like I believe all of our children and all of us need to remind ourselves that it's not all easy coasting in life, right? And I think getting kids into some of these types of sports and putting them into situations that they're not used to versus the comfort that we're all used to during most of our life and the convenience, I like to step out of that, and I want my kids to think the same.
Let's talk about that for a moment, because we all get into uncomfortable spots, like physically, mentally.
It's a mind and body thing. You can't rely on just the mind and you can't rely just on the body. I do believe both of them need to be in some sort of sync. I won't get into my views on the nervous system, which is the one thing that a lot of us really don't research enough of how important our nervous system is to us. But when I'm in a very deep, dark place, and you've probably seen me on a couple of those, I just think that you need to start to have some words with yourself. And I'm just like, I'm typically harden the fuck up, right? Or if that's not working for me, I'm like, let's dig deep. But one thing that's worked for me in the past is don't always think you need to be going at that same pace. If you're going through some suffering, some deep dark places, just back it up. Now, doesn't mean you stop. And one thing I've seen is some people go into a dark place and that's it. I'm giving up, right? I'm done. I bring in don't ever give up, but you just bring it back. You just slow it down. You go, if you're running in a running race, you just might say, I'm going to walk for the next half a mile. It doesn't matter. Just recalibrate what's happening in that moment. But don't give up because you're going through that moment, because the body recovers so damn fast. It's unbelievable. A lot of us forget how easy it recovers.
And I've heard that, from a couple of adventure racers or, ultra runners, it's like, don't take yourself out of the race, even if you're struggling a little bit, just because you're struggling. I mean, of course, unless you fall down a ravine and break your legs. But I've been in races where, we've gotten lost for, hours, even overnight, and we've had to sleep in weird places that we weren't even sure where we were on the map. I remember one time we were at one checkpoint before we got lost, and we were almost in last place, and then we slept in the middle of a field because we were a bit lost in the middle of the night. We're all tired. Woke up, picked the direction we thought we needed to go in. We got to the next checkpoint, and lo and behold, somehow we were in like the top 5 position. We're like, how did that happen? So you just can't, like I said, give up just because you're struggling a bit. Let's say.
Right. And you really do need your mind to be talking to the body, and the body sometimes will carry your mind, I find, because you'll be in a negative place up here, but if you back it up, and then the body will adjust to your situation. So for me, don't give up, and to give up. Some people say it flippantly, and I know that some moments, severe injuries, you got to give up, but just if you're in a dark place and you don't have a severe injury, just give it time and just adjust your situation to what's happening at that time.
Yeah, our bodies and our minds are amazingly adaptable. What's still driving you? Are there things, obviously this freedom at 50 is pretty cool, and that's a pretty good notion. That's obviously a pretty high level thing. But you've also told me that you just told everybody you want Podium to be the best agency out there. Is it just confidence in yourself that makes you say that?
I think I want to make sure that I leave a legacy with my children that they can be proud of. And a legacy to some people is a whole heap of money or a lot of property or material goods, and that doesn't interest me. I want my children to look and say, gee, Dad went hard. Gee, Dad was a builder. Gee, Dad created stuff. Gee, Dad knew a lot of people and he had a lot of fun along the way. I want them to be able to say, gee, like, I don't think a mark of success, personally, I don't think a mark of success is how many homes you have, how many boats you have, how many cars you have, and all the rest of it. Like, that doesn't mean shit to me. So what I want is I want to instill my absolute focus. Number one goals are about my children having the right values as they move into early adulthood, when sometimes it's harder to instill values into kids, particularly with all the noise that kids have to deal with these days and all the comfort that kids grow up with these days. One thing that I had that I'm very proud of is my work ethic, and I believe that you get what you can out of what you put in. So I'm trying to instill certain values with my children. Am I perfect at it? No. I wish I could spend more time at it. We're all busy, but that's something that you said, what's your driver? Like that's my driver is I want to make sure my children have as best chance of having a fulfilled life. And I don't think I know many people who are fulfilled without a great work ethic and an understanding of our other humans, what drives them. So there are a couple of things I'm working on right now, but I'm not about building the biggest company, to be honest. I'm about building the one that's going to have authority, because I think authority in the services industry is you want to be the experts. You want to be the ones that people go, hey, we rely on those folks. So that's why, I'm in the game of building services companies. So for me, authority is one of the important things that I'll look back on. If we are the authority and we're becoming the authority in these areas, that's a good thing, because it means people will want to work with you and you'll have long-lasting relationships.
I love it. I mean, there's so many things that are driving you and motivating you, and that's a huge goal. I mean, I got small kids now, and you want to leave not only a legacy, but be a good example. And we get upset, we we have things that we need to do and whatnot, but at the end of the day, that's a great thing to kind of head off with, is just our legacy. I mean, that's what we have at the end of the day. Like I said, you can't take it with you, right?
No. None of it.
None of it at all.
We're only here once, so you've got to make it count. And that's why I'm a big believer that every minute of every day I want to make count. I get anxiety if I don't have productivity during most of my day. I'm not saying that I don't have downtime. That's actually, I have huge amounts of downtime, but I make the most of that downtime. But if I have these empty moments in my life, I get anxious. I'm like, well, what's going on? And that might scare a few people, like, oh, what do you mean? Some of us can just drift through life with those empty moments, be happy. And that's not me, though. Like, I really want to make sure that I look back and go, wow, what a productive day, or wow, didn't we do a lot, or wow, didn't we have an incredible amount of experiences? And and it's not about how much do we make.
You're definitely well above average, in my mind, at pretty much everything. I know fishing is one of your loves. We can talk about that. Maybe that's your next step, become a professional fisherman. I mean, I think you love it enough, and I think you're pretty good.
That would be an incredible goal, but I always feel a little bit of trepidation saying that one of my passions to become my life, as in my vocation, meaning work. So I got into fishing when I was young. I love the detailed nature of fishing, of getting ready to target a fish, and we did that in Brisbane, Australia, through to fishing all around Australia. Now I've fished around the world, but I think to give people a bit of an idea of of where I'm at now is I have a bucket list of big major prize fish. Some aren't big, some are actually quite small, but a list of fish that I want to catch on fly. And that's just not in creeks and rivers. That's actually out in the ocean, catching marlin, catching huge potential fish, through to prize fish, using a sport that I found my way in when I moved to New York. I was fishing these small creeks, found fly fishing after many years of being a sports fisherman. I found fly fishing, but I absolutely love the fact that you are able to catch a fish by hunting it, either visually or using a very different technique that not many people do at scale, but the fact that you can trick a fish and then you have a relationship with that fish for a very short space of time, then you put that fish back in the ocean to fish again. That for me is a great cycle, and I'm slowly getting through my bucket list. It's about a 10-year project that I have, and I'm about 2.5, 3 years into it.
Well, this is amazing. I think really what I've even gotten from you, even knowing you, is like how to just ways to like deal with your drive. Again, we often don't know how to channel, if we want something, or how to, get there from here, let's say. Well, Mark, awesome. Thank you. You're in such huge, amazing growth mode with your business, but let's plan something. Thanks for being part of our Driven podcast.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Rick. Look forward to what comes, mate.